portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
BEC Chairman Leslie Miller said 2 female disconnectors were threatened and held hostage for nearly 15 minutes as they attempted to cut the electrical supply to a home in Pinewood Gardens.
Wow, the women were not released until male employees and police were called to the scene.
Enraged by the incident and others that have been happening with increasing frequency, Miller blasted the action as cowardly.
And the supply to that home has been terminated indefinitely and BEC's meter removed.
Miller says approximately 12 of BEC's 32 disconnectors are female, but nearly all, including men, have reported similar incidents where they have been accosted on the job.
In one case, the gentleman picked up a rock, and when I say rock, I mean a big rock, and told that he would smash her face in if he was to disconnect his light. 5 men in the neighborhood then went to the gate and stopped them from leaving the gate. And they were threatened. One fella said that he'll go home and get his 9mm and kill all 2 of them if they come in his yard and turn off his light. One male disconnector in Elizabeth Estates this morning was threatened. And in some cases, fellas throw a rock at the vehicle.
Miller noted that members of the public should not resort to violence in these matters as employees have no personal vendetta and are simply performing their duties. The BEC chairman says the incident involving the women is being investigated by police. However, he issued a stern warning to consumers who continue to impede employees from doing their jobs.
I'm telling you again, if you threaten, intimidate, or try to harass our workers, we will disconnect you from the pole and your light will be disconnected for a very, very long time, and we can take out our meter. So you'll then be getting electricity from coal, or you could get your little motor to put in there, but you ain't gonna get it from BEC.
In Labor News this Wednesday, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis said that the reported layoffs of 55 workers at the Grand Lucayan in Grand Bahama does not necessarily mean that they are out of a job. One day after the union requested approval for a strike vote at the resort, those employees were terminated. But Minister Davis confirmed to reporters today that employees released from the hotel property will be re-engaged under a different operation.
In effect, what happened is that the hotel decided to go another way in respect to delivery of services that required by the hotel. For example, the security personnel that was on the staff of the hotel, they were subsumed by a company to whom they would have outsourced that particular aspect of their operations too. So in effect, even though it is said a layoff from the hotels, there's been no actual loss of jobs. All it is that the department was subsumed by an independent entity to provide the services.
So those 50 persons, they're really not out of a job?
They're not out of jobs. No.
Okay.
While some have criticized Prime Minister Perry Christie for saving Ishmael Lightbourne's home from foreclosure by calling a lending institution to stop the process, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis maintains no abuse of power has occurred, and the decision ultimately lies with the lending institution on whether or not they will follow through, regardless of the position of the one making the plea. More on that story tonight from Janae Noel Ferguson.
I don't know how it could be an abuse of power. How is power abused?
That's the question Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis is asking after the opposition and others criticized the Prime Minister for intervening on behalf of the government's VAT messenger Ishmael Lightbourne, who's facing foreclosure.
So if I speak to a bank and ask them to bring relief to someone, and they decide that they will, that's not an abusing of power. It is them listening to me and deciding on the representations made by me, they will lend that assistance. Where if they don't lend the assistance, I can't do anything about it.
When active bankers would then feel a sense of obligation to follow through if a prime minister called on behalf of someone, Davis says they shouldn't and stressed that in the prime minister's case, it was not the government that intervened.
You have to separate the government from me as the individual MP.
Right.
It's not the government who's going to step in. The government has not stepped in. Mm-hmm. Right? If someone comes to me as a mortgage borrower who's being evicted and they ask me, see what I can do for them, I will. But it doesn't mean that will succeed. Because at the end of the day, it is a personal arrangement between the borrower and the lender.
He summed the issue up as true representation for constituents.
If a Bahamian comes to me seeking help, what am I to do? Turn them away? Should I not seek to attempt to help them?
The Deputy Prime Minister maintains that the government continues to work with lending institutions on its mortgage relief program. He says many persons did not qualify because of unemployment.
Until we have been able to satisfy all the needs and requirements for jobs, I think it will always appear that the plan is failing, but to my view it is not failing. It is just that people have to be able to qualify first for the plan.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
F&M Deputy Leader Loretta Butler-Turner coming under fire this evening for comments she made in a news story on another station. The Long Island MP claimed that the PLP during the 2012 general elections made the Bahamas Customs, Immigration and Allied Workers Union feel that if elected, they would reverse the shift system. Well, Labor Minister Shane Gibson is firing back, branding that claim as false, misleading, and deceptive. Minister Gibson went further, asking Butler-Turner to retract her statement and make an apology to the Bahamian people. According to the statement, at no time during the 2012 election campaign did the PLP promise to reverse the shift system. What the PLP did promise union leaders and their members, however, was to aggressively address all of their disputes and issues that workers complained about while Mrs. Butler-Turner served as a cabinet minister in the F&M government. The Labor Minister pointed out that since coming to office, the PLP government has successfully negotiated and resolved more than 23 outstanding labor issues, as well as the fact that 2 trade unions have been reinstated. These were issues, according to Gibson, that were left outstanding by the previous administration. Minister Gibson also condemned Butler-Turner for her attack on the appointment of Director of Labor Robert Farquharson, former president of the BCPOU. Calling her comments hypocritical and two-faced, Gibson pointed out that it was under the F&M that 3 former directors of Labor were appointed. They are A. Leonard Archer, Donald Simonet, and Leslie Dean. Robert Farquharson was appointed Director of Labor under the current administration. The statement concluded with a pledge by the minister to work with all labor unions toward resolving all disputes and collective bargaining agreements in a timely and amicable manner.
Still to come in ZNS Total Sports, highlights from the Women's Basketball Championships. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.